Hello, professor, class, and my audience. Say hi. Okay. My name is Anne Marie Taylor, and I'm about to do my persuasive speech. So, when you walk into a waiting room, what is the first thing you notice people doing?
Normally they're on their cell phone.
Correct. Usually, if not everyone, most of them will be using an electronic device of some sort, either a cell phone or a tablet. Adults are either texting, surfing the web, on social media, or even working. Children are usually playing games or watching videos. I'm guilty of this. When I'm at the doctor's office with my son, who's 2, he usually watches Mickey Mouse on my phone or we take pictures, because what other way will I entertain him? He'll go crazy if we just sit there and do nothing. You might wonder why people who sit together don't talk and don't have regular conversations. It's because we become accustomed to passing time using technology. Technology is destroying face-to-face communication and making our youth less educated. First, let's discuss technology and children. This is a problem when children become adults because they need to interact with other people and they don't know how to do so. Also, children are not as literate as they should be because they don't read as many books as they should or as they used to. They would rather read off of an iPad or off of a computer screen, and it's normally not books. They don't get enough words to learn and to grow their vocabulary. One might argue that children need to be technologically advanced because of the world we live in. This is very true. But when it interferes with their education and their social skills and development, it becomes a problem. When I was in school, we learned shapes and colors and did reading tests online. I know some of you remember AR books and tests. Whoever got the highest score would get a prize at the end of the period. I don't know if I actually won any of those prizes because I didn't really read the books. I just took the tests in hopes that I was going to do well just because there was a prize. So all in all, I didn't learn anything, and there wasn't really anything to check my learning because it was optional. With that being said, I can only imagine what the computer is used for now in elementary school. Who knows? Computers should not be a teacher's replacement, which I feel like it is being used as. It should be an aid, if anything. But I feel like certain age children shouldn't be able to use a computer either, because that starts them on relying on technology instead of face-to-face interaction and learning. According to an article by Jay Donovan, the average child that receives a smartphone is 10 years old. That's crazy. These kids are still in elementary school or just getting to middle school. I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone until I was 14, and I had to beg and plead for it, and it was a prepaid flip phone that I had to babysit to earn the money to pay for. Now, parents are purchasing electronics for kids every day, left and right. Some children have iPads and cell phones. Why do children need 2 of those things? Why do they need one as a child? This makes children become more dependent on technology, and they don't do things that children used to do, such as go to parks, ride bikes, go outside and play until the streetlights come on. I know you remember that. I know you guys do too. I don't understand why children don't like it anymore, because I still find that fun, going to parks, riding bikes, and playing outside, except I just don't have to come in when the streetlights come on. They don't enjoy the same things that we enjoyed because we didn't have the luxury, if you want to call it that, of technology as they do today. As a child, I had various amounts of friends from all over, friends that I only seen once or twice, because I played outside every day, pretty much every day, as long as I wasn't in trouble, and met new people practically every day, which helped me be the person I am today, which is sociable and able to talk to people. Now, let's talk about preteens and teenagers, because we know when it gets to that stage, they want to do what they want to do. But there's a point where parents need to step in. Every single teenager, and mostly preteens, own a smartphone, and usually a computer as well. If not, they have one or the other. The youth nowadays will never know what it's like to have to call a house phone and ask for someone's mother or father to speak to their friend because they call their phone directly. The communication when I was younger was via telephone, house phone, with a stranger, which was my friend's parents. And that was so scary. And they were my friend's parents. Just imagine how children and teenagers would react today if they had to call their friend's parents' phone to get to talk to their friends. They probably wouldn't talk on the phone much. I don't even know if parents would know how to react to the children because they're not used to it. Social media is another factor that decreases a teen's FaceTime with each other. Although social media requires you to be about 13, I know Facebook specifically is 13, years of age before signing up, there's no way to actually confirm one's age. Therefore, 10 to 12-year-olds and maybe even younger lie about their age and activate a Facebook account or any kind of social media account. I've done it. I was 16 when I was really 13 because I activated my account so early. No one was there to stop me, and that's how I started being on social media because I wanted to be like the older kids. According to Donovan, 39% of kids get a social media account at 11.4 years. 11% got a social media account when they were younger than 10. I was probably about 10 when I got my first social media account, and I wasn't monitored with it, so I did whatever I wanted. And that wasn't a good thing. It wasn't. So that's why I'm going to change and not allow my child to do that when he gets to be 10. Instead of preteens and teenagers actively participating in sports, playing instruments, joining clubs to meet people, they simply get on social media and they add as many people as they can and they start friendships like that. And it's easier to meet people online because you hide yourself behind a keyboard, and that dims their people skills because you don't have to be a good person or know how to talk to type something into a computer or a cell phone. Another obstacle with today's children is the reality that they are becoming less social, even though they are on social media. I have another quote here about social media from The Telegraph, and it goes, "The conclusions come just days after a leading academic warned that a generation of children risk growing up with obsessive personalities, poor self-control, short attention spans, little empathy because of an addiction to social networking websites such as Twitter. This is proof to show that children are becoming less social because of technology. Everyone sees it. I don't know why it's not considered a problem and why children are still allowed to do certain things. But again, I'm guilty of it too, so, I can only say so much." The problem with social media is that it's all online. There's no face-to-face, person-to-person interaction. And although you're talking to someone 24/7, you don't really know them or know how they are because a simple text doesn't give a tone of voice. Simple text doesn't allow you to meet and know that person for who they are. You just know what they say through text or through messages. And that's not truly who a person is most of the time. Let's move on to young adults. At 18 years old, one becomes a young adult. If they didn't have a phone or computer while they were an adolescent, more than likely they own one of those now, at least one, usually both. At 18, one is usually graduating high school and going to college or joining the workforce. I was graduating high school and going to college. But everyone has their own path. At this age, one should be able to hold a conversation with anyone that comes in their path, no matter who they are, whether it's a simple, "Hi, how are you doing?" or whether it's an interview. However, this is not the case. Many young adults do not know how to respond to questions during an interview. It's because they weren't taught it, and they're not required to have FaceTime with people and talk to people face to face. Some even avoid interviews altogether if possible because of the fear of speaking to people that they don't know. Also, when one applies for a job, it's usually done online, even if they want to do it in person. This is just another way technology is decreasing face-to-face interaction. which affects someone's person skills, and they don't know how to talk to people when it really counts. In a world where a smartphone can type the words that you say and turn it into text and can be used as a computer, the people using the device are losing their social skills and becoming more illiterate and uneducated when it comes to basic people skills and when it comes to just being courteous as a person or just knowing what to say at the right time. People don't know how to do that because they hide behind technology, phones, tablets, and computers. Also, smartphones and computers, they allow people to use autocorrect and spell check. This lowers one's ability to spell properly without aid, and that's making people less educated, because if you don't know how to spell and you don't really know how to write by yourself unless you have autocorrect or spell check. And that's what we rely on now, and that's not good. Nobody uses a dictionary unless it's online, and it's normally to figure out what it means, not how to spell a word. I had a chance to interview an Old Dominion graduate who is now an officer in the United States Army, Adrian Taylor, who often volunteers at high schools and colleges. When I asked him about how he thinks social media has affected our world today, he said that teenagers and young adults are not very personable, at least the one he runs into. They're really not. They normally keep to themselves, and they do not know how to interact with one another, or him. When he asks them a question, usually they kind of stutter, like, and they don't know how to respond to an adult and be respectful at that. That should be something that's second nature, being respectful and knowing how to respond to someone, even if you don't know them. That should be something that is second nature to our children and to our youth, and it's not. This is sad because these are the future leaders of our country. These are the future doctors, lawyers, presidents, and they don't know how to speak properly because they don't talk to people. They use technology to communicate instead of face-to-face communication. My sorority, Pi Beta Phi. Our philanthropy is to increase the literacy of children. Our partner is First Book, which provides a vast amount of books to children in community programs. This is our way of trying to increase the literacy rate of children in our communities. But you have to remember, not all children are a part of these community programs, which means we can't reach all the children that are in need. And the most of them probably don't go to community centers if they're in need because they can't afford the fee or their parents don't know about it. Teachers and parents have to do their part and require our children and their children to read books that are not online and to read to them and to explain what they mean just so they understand what the book is saying. This would improve the education of our children by allowing them to be able to read and understand higher levels of writing. Without that, our children aren't going to know what they should know. The vocabulary of a child has decreased so much because they're not reading. In order to gain a better vocabulary and a more broad vocabulary, they actually have to read or at least hear the words. And the people they're around might not have a big vocabulary themselves because of how they were raised and because of the way technology has impacted them in a negative way. Overall, technology is decreasing the social skills in our society and lowering the basic education needs of children. In order to help with the problem of technology making children less social, there needs to be programs added to schools' curriculum, and parents need to do their part too. I interviewed one of my professors a few years back. He's actually a professor at Old Dominion University, Professor Smith. I asked him how he felt about technology today, and he stated that I don't get any fire back when I ask about my students' writings. He's an English teacher. I had him as a freshman and a sophomore. Pretty good teacher, and he really likes communication. He likes to talk back and forth and have conversations about writings. But he doesn't get that. Nobody wants to read their paper out loud in front of the class and get critiqued. Nobody wants to go back and forth and discuss an issue because they're afraid of speaking in front of people. Example, we have public speaking classes because people are scared to talk in front of people and don't know how to communicate and speak to one another. That's why speeches are so hard sometimes. We get nervous because we're not used to doing that because of the technology that stops us. Right now, I'm talking to my audience, and If I didn't have to have an audience, I would probably just speak to the computer because that's the easiest thing to do. This is significant because in the real world, being able to speak to others in a professional manner is essential in everyday life. If one cannot sit through and understand how to conduct a proper interview, then they'll not get hired for a job. Without a job, they won't have any money. And considering you need money to provide and live, well, you could just use your imagination for how their life will go. With that being said, with the increasing amount of technology that is able to do our work for us, our society is going to become nothing more than parrots mimicking what they hear from a computer or tablet. We all want our children to grow up to be smart and strong. Decrease the use of technology within a household, and that will increase the possibility of that happening. Until then, we don't know how our children will turn out. We just need to remember that we need to teach and develop our children as we were taught and developed, and as our parents were taught and developed. Technology should not replace you as a parent or anyone as a teacher, or me as a parent, or me as a teacher, because I'm a teacher to the youth. That's it. Thank you for listening to my persuasive speech, and have a good night.